You remember the sting of it all, don't you? It wasn't just the betrayal, but the public performance that followed. He didn't just leave, he made a spectacle of it, parading his new relationship for everyone to see, especially you. Every shared glance, every laugh he had with her in places you used to go together was a calculated blow. He wanted you to feel small, invisible, and judged by the world he was so proudly displaying. He walked around with an air of invincibility, a smugness that said his actions had no consequences. He was the winner, and you were the past he had triumphantly discarded. While he was celebrating, you were quietly weathering the storm, picking up the pieces of the life he shattered. You held on to a quiet, stubborn belief that the universe keeps a balance sheet, that eventually people answer for the pain they cause. The real wound wasn't the cheating itself. It was the sheer, breathtaking arrogance of it all. It was the injustice of him building his new happiness on the rebel of your dignity and acting like he had every right to do so. The universe doesn't always send a quiet memo. Sometimes it sends flashing lights. One night, the silence on your street was torn apart by sirens, and the houses were painted in pulsing strokes of red and blue. It wasn't your drama, it was his. Through the blinds, you could see every neighbor doing the same, their silhouettes dark against the chaos. The whispers traveled faster than the police cars had. The screaming, the sound of shattering glass, it had all come from his house. The perfect new life he had built on the ruins of yours was publicly self-destructing. And then you saw him. The police let him out, not as the cocky champion who had paraded his new prize, but as a pathetic, bruised man. The smug mask he wore so proudly was gone, replaced by a raw canvas of shame and physical pain. His new flame, the one he threw it all away for, had turned on him in a violent rage. The man who made you feel so small was now the neighborhood's train wreck, a spectacle for the very audience he once performed for. Karma wasn't a whisper, it was a bullhorn. A few days later, he was on your doorstep. The facade was completely stripped away, leaving only a hollowed-out, defeated man. He tried to play the victim, weaving a tale about her craziness, hoping you would offer the sanctuary he'd so carelessly burned down. He was begging, not for forgiveness, but for a place to hide. But as you looked at the man who had shattered your world, you felt nothing. Not the old sting of betrayal, not rage, not even a ghost of pity. You saw only the direct, unavoidable consequence of his own choices. With a column you hadn't felt in years, you denied him entry. You made it clear he had built that life, and now he had to live in it. You closed the door, not with spite, but with the quiet, unshakable certainty that your peace was non-negotiable. He had made his bed. Now he would lie in it, alone. Look, let's talk about what happened, about the choice he made. It wasn't just a simple mistake or a moment of weakness. It was a profound miscalculation of character, his own, and of the person he chose over you. He wasn't just leaving a relationship, he was trading something real for an illusion he wanted to believe in. He was so consumed by the idea of a victory, of parading a new prize, but he never stopped to look at what he was actually holding. He saw a reflection of his own ego in her, a shared thrill for the drama, and he mistook that for a deep connection. He traded the quiet strength you offered for loud, temporary excitement. He chose the person who would feed his arrogance, not the one who would build a life with him. The truth is, he didn't exchange you for someone better. He exchanged you for a mirror. And when the spectacle was over and all that was left was the reality of his choice, that mirror shattered. The very chaos he was drawn to is what ultimately consumed him in front of the entire world. His decision wasn't just a betrayal of you, it was a betrayal of his own future, all for a moment of applause that ended in public shame. And now, look at what is left in the wake of that storm. This is the harvest. This is the part of the story no one tells you about, the quiet, mundane unraveling that follows the big explosion. The spectacle of the police lights has faded, but the consequences linger in the daylight for everyone to see. Have you seen him? I don't mean have you spoken to him, but have you truly seen him? The man who walks around town now is a ghost of the one who tried to break you. The arrogance he wore like a well-tailored suit is gone.
It's been replaced by a cheap, ill-fitting coat of shame. His shoulders, which he once held back with such unearned pride, are now slumped forward, as if carrying a weight he can no longer pretend isn't there. He used to walk into a room and command it, his laughter loud, his presence demanding. He wanted every eye on him. Now his eyes are always on the ground, scanning the pavement as if searching for an escape route. A man who once lived for an audience now flinches at the gaze of a stranger. The whispers don't even have to be about him. He hears them anyway. Every quiet conversation, every shared glance between neighbors is a verdict in his mind. This is the real price of his choices. It wasn't just losing a partner or a home.
It was the complete demolition of the character he so carefully constructed. He built his identity on the illusion of being a winner, the man who gets what he wants without consequence. But when the foundation of that identity, his public image, cracked, the whole structure came down. He isn't just humbled, he's hollowed out. There's nothing left inside. The man who sowed the wind is now living in the whirlwind, and you can see the exhaustion of it all over his face. This isn't karma as a lightning bolt from the heavens. This is karma as a slow, grinding erosion of the self, and it is a far more devastating thing to witness. And what about you? While he haunts the very streets he once paraded on, a prisoner of sideways glances and hushed conversations, you have found a different kind of quiet. The silence in your home is no longer a weapon he used against you. It's not the heavy, aching silence of absence. It has become something else entirely, a space, a clean, open space where you can finally hear yourself think, where the music you play is for your own enjoyment, and the air is light with possibility. You sleep through the night now. You've stopped replaying the scenes of his betrayal, the calculated cruelty of his public performance. Those memories have lost their sharp edges. They are no longer agonizing wounds, but faded scars, proof of a battle you survived. You started noticing the small things again, the way the sun hits your kitchen floor in the morning, the taste of your coffee, the simple, uncomplicated peace of being alone without being lonely. This is the part of the story that is truly yours. It's not about his downfall, it's about your rising. The universe delivered its verdict, but your freedom wasn't granted by his punishment. You had already started to build it yourself, piece by piece, in the quiet moments when you chose to get out of bed, to go to work, to answer a friend's call. His public implosion wasn't the event that set you free. It was simply the final, undeniable confirmation that the world you had escaped was every bit as toxic and unstable as you had felt it was. It wasn't justice for you. It was the natural, inevitable outcome for him. You saw him one last time, a few weeks ago, in the produce aisle of the grocery store. He was fumbling with a plastic bag, his movements clumsy and uncertain. He looked thin, worn down. The swagger was gone, replaced by a nervous energy, a constant scanning of his surroundings. For a brief second, his eyes met yours. There was no flicker of recognition, no anger, no pleading, nothing. It was the vacant gaze of a stranger. And in that moment, you felt the last thread connecting you to that old pain simply dissolve. He was no longer the villain of your story. He wasn't even a character anymore. He was just a man in a grocery store, a ghost from a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. You turned your cart and walked away, not with a sense of victory, but with a profound and unshakable sense of peace. You didn't need him to fall for you to rise. But seeing him as he truly was, small, broken, and irrelevant, was the final act. The story was over. The book was closed. And you were already walking into a new one written entirely on your own terms. Let's talk about the aftermath, the quiet, grinding reality that settles in after the storm has passed. This is where the real consequences live, not in the explosion, but in the silent, empty crater it leaves behind. This is his life now, and the signs of his fall are etched into every part of his existence. Have you seen his face lately? The smug, defiant mask has been permanently shattered, and what's left is something far more telling. It's a face etched with a deep, weary resignation. The lines around his eyes aren't from laughter anymore. They're from sleepless nights and the constant low-grade anxiety of being a pariah in his own life. His eyes, once so quick to challenge and dismiss, are now dull and evasive. They dart around, never landing on anyone for more than a second, as if direct eye contact might cause him to crumble completely. He looks perpetually tired, not just from a lack of sleep, but from the exhausting, full-time job of carrying his own shame. His behavior is that of a man trying to become invisible. Remember how he used to take up space, his voice booming, his posture demanding attention.
Now he shrinks. He walks with his shoulders hunched, his head down, taking the long way around to avoid familiar faces. In a store, he moves quickly, grabbing what he needs without browsing, a fugitive in the aisles of his own town. He speaks in murmurs if he speaks at all. The man who lived for an audience now lives in fear of it, flinching at a sudden laugh from a nearby table or the sound of a car slowing down outside his house. He is a ghost haunting his own life, terrified of being seen. And then there's the environment he created for himself. The house he once paraded as a symbol of his new beginning is now just a silent, cold box. The vibrant, chaotic energy he was drawn to is gone, but the echo of its violence remains. It's a place devoid of warmth, of life. There are no sounds of laughter, no music playing, only the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of a clock marking the slow passage of his solitude. He comes home not to a sanctuary, but to a monument of his catastrophic misjudgment. Every empty room is a reminder of what he chose and what he lost.
This isn't a life, it's a sentence. A quiet, lonely sentence he serves one day at a time, in a world he built with his own two hands. And now, we arrive at the final truth, the part that truly matters. This isn't about him anymore. The story of his public collapse, his shame, his self-inflicted solitude, that is his epilogue to write. Yours is a new beginning, and it's happening in the quiet moments he can no longer touch. Your freedom, you see, was never going to be a gift handed to you by fate or by his downfall. It was a territory you had to reclaim, inch by inch, for yourself. And you did. It happened on the morning you woke up, and his face wasn't the first image in your mind. It happened the first time you heard a song you once shared and didn't feel a sting of pain, but a simple, neutral memory. It happened when you started making plans for your future, a vacation, a new class, a simple weekend with friends, and the plans were built entirely around your own joy, with no space left for the ghosts of the past. The real liberation isn't the knowledge that he is miserable. The real liberation is the profound, soul-deep realization that you simply don't care. His suffering doesn't bring you joy, and his happiness would no longer bring you pain. He has become irrelevant. The emotional charge is gone, the connection severed, not by a dramatic cut, but by a slow, quiet fading into nothingness. He is no longer a monster under the bed or a villain in your story. He is just a name attached to a person you used to know. This is the final, quiet victory. It isn't loud or triumphant. It doesn't need an audience. It's the unshakable peace that settles in your bones when you understand that your life, your happiness, and your worth were never tied to him. He didn't give them to you, so he could never truly take them away. He only borrowed them for a while, and now you have taken them back. The door you closed on him wasn't just a physical barrier. It was the closing of a book, the end of a chapter. And the story that comes next, it has nothing to do with him. It is, and always was, entirely yours. Let's talk about the full circle of it all, because what you witnessed wasn't just revenge or karma. It was the simple, unavoidable physics of a life lived with that much arrogance. You remember the beginning, the sheer audacity of it. He didn't just leave, he orchestrated a public performance. He wanted an audience to watch him discard you and celebrate his new prize. Every laugh, every touch in a place that was once yours was a line in a script designed to humiliate you. He walked around wrapped in an aura of triumph, convinced he was a king who could rewrite the rules without consequence. While he was building his new kingdom, you were quietly surviving in the ruins, holding on to the simple belief that the universe eventually balances its books. And then the universe sent its auditors, not with a quiet notice, but with sirens and flashing lights that turned your whole street into a stage. And for the first time, the drama wasn't yours, it was his. Through the blinds, you saw the grand finale of the life he built on your pain. The whispers traveled between houses, telling the story of screaming, of shattering glass. His perfect new world was imploding for the same audience he had once performed for. The moment they let him out,
That's when the story truly ended. The man who paraded his victory was gone. In his place was a pathetic, bruised figure, his mask of smug superiority shattered, replaced by the raw, ugly truth of shame. The prize he'd won had turned on him. The man who made you feel so small was now the neighborhood spectacle, a train wreck in slow motion. When he appeared on your doorstep days later, hollowed out and defeated, he wasn't looking for forgiveness. He was looking for a hiding place. He tried to sell you a story about her craziness, hoping for the sanctuary he'd so gleefully burned down. But as you looked at him, the man who had caused you so much pain, you felt nothing. Not rage, not pity, not even the ghost of love. You saw only a man drowning in the consequences of his own choices. Closing that door wasn't an act of vengeance. It was an act of profound peace. It was the quiet, unshakable statement that his chaos was no longer welcome in your world. You didn't push him into the storm. You simply refused to let him bring it into your home. He made his bed of betrayal and drama, and with that final, quiet click of the lock, you left him to lie in it, alone. Y entonces llegará el momento. It won't be a dramatic confrontation under pouring rain or a tearful confession on your doorstep. It will be something much quieter, much more mundane. It will come on a Tuesday afternoon in the form of a notification that buzzes on your phone. A text message from him. After months of silence, after you've settled into the rhythm of your own life, his name will appear on your screen like a ghost from a forgotten grave. You'll read the words, and they won't be arrogant or demanding. They will be small, pathetic, a weak, grasping attempt to find a familiar shore. Maybe he'll mention an old inside joke, or say he was just thinking about you, hoping to trigger a muscle memory of a connection that has long since atrophied. And as you read his message, you will wait for a feeling to rise. Anger, pity, sadness, a flicker of the old pain, but nothing will come.
There will only be a profound and unnerving stillness. You will look around your quiet, peaceful space, the life you have carefully, deliberately rebuilt. You will think of your calm mornings, your easy sleep, the simple, uncomplicated joy of your own company. You will see his words not as an olive branch, but as a seed of the chaos you worked so hard to uproot. Letting him back in, even for a single conversation, would be like willingly inviting a hurricane into the home you just finished securing. And you will realize, with a clarity that is as calm as it is absolute, that you simply do not want to. There is no debate in your mind, no war in your heart. He is not a monster anymore. He is not a tragic figure. He is simply irrelevant, an echo from a life that is no longer yours. Without ceremony, without a single shred of anger, you will hold your finger down on his name. The options will appear. Block, delete. You will press them both. It won't be an act of revenge. It will be an act of hygiene, like sweeping the last bit of dust out the door. And as his name vanishes from your phone for the last time, you will feel the final invisible thread connecting you to that past snap clean. You will take a deep breath, the first one that feels completely, utterly your own. Soy libre.